All right, so I've adjusted my lighting a little bit, so maybe it'll be a little better. I don't know, but my camera's really bad. Okay, so we're on our second writing lesson for this week. You should have read the pages I told you to read, pages 5 and 6, kind of going over what you're going to learn this year and, you know, what we're looking for and what the objective of the course is and yada yada. All right, so today, basically the assignment is going to be reading as well, but I just want to kind of go over it with you a little bit. I don't know where you are in math, and I don't really know where you are in writing either because I don't know you that well. So anyway, so I just kind of want to start at the basics, the fundamentals, just to make sure we cover everything. All right, so today we're looking at pages 19 through 24. So if you want to turn in the book to page 19, this is going to be short. I'm just going to kind of go over it with you a little bit. I don't like long videos. Everybody gets bored with that. Okay, so basically on page 19 and 20, it's just going to talk about paragraphs, why they're important, blah, blah. So you'll read that, 19 and 20. All right, so it begins on page 21 as lesson 1. And these are essentials for writing good paragraphs. So, and they have it laid out in a nice, organized manner as to show you how you're going to structure your paragraphs. Now, you may both write very well. I have no idea, but I know that my children didn't write very well, and then we worked on this, and then they wrote very well. So we're going to follow this. Anyway, if you'll look at where it says lesson 1, introduction, the structure and the development of the paragraph, and skip down a little bit, you see number 1, it says topic sentences. Gives you some information about those topic sentences. The body of the paragraph gives you a lot about the body, what you're going to have, what you're going to be looking for, what you're going to be doing. I want you to read through that. I'm just pointing out a few things to you. Then on number 3, it tells you about the conclusion, or in this book they call it the clincher, the final part of your paragraph. Now turn the page, page 22. Now it's going to start talking about the parts, the pieces in the paragraph, point of view, tense, subordination of ideas, continuity in writing is on page 23. That's where our very first lesson is actually going to start. Okay, so I'm going to have you, I just wanted to point those things out to you. I'm going to have you read. I want you to just pause this. And I want you, while you just have it paused, I want you to read 19, 20, 21, 22, and then I want you to read 23. And stop at the end of the section that says continuity in writing. I want you to stop right there. Now, these are just things I could just tell you blah, blah, blah about, but I want you to read these things because oftentimes if you read them, sometimes if you hear them, I guess they'll stick better. But remember, take some notes. My daughter has all this highlighted in here where she had read through it and highlighted a lot of stuff, especially about point of view, tense, subordination of ideas, that kind of thing. So go ahead and pause this program. Go ahead and read those sections and then turn it back on for just a few more minutes. Okay. I'm hoping that you did all the reading I told you to do. So now I want you to look at the bottom of page 23 where it starts on number 1. Now this is talking about continuity in writing, and this is what you would have read in that part, that section. That so many times young writers, writers who are inexperienced, will just throw in ideas, just blah, 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 as they're thinking, just jot things down. And then that's what they turn in. And then make a bad grade on it. I've got a daughter that does that sometimes, and she very seldom makes good grades because she just writes her stuff down and doesn't think about it. She just writes it down as she thinks about it. All right, so this is actually going to be our assignment for tomorrow, but I just kind of wanted to go over it with you a little bit because I probably won't make a video for tomorrow because tomorrow is actually going to be your very first worksheet, but it's going to be based on this. So it says, now the easiest method to bring a good flow of sentences so that your paragraph just kind of flows together and it's not just boop, 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 spontaneous things all over the place, is to repeat the subject. That's just the easiest thing to do. So you have a sentence. Joe went to town. Okay, let's practice on just making a new sentence, the same sentence, but you're just going to not the same sentence, a different sentence, but you're going to repeat the subject. The subject of Joe went to town is Joe. That's who or what the sentence is about. So we're going to repeat his name in a new sentence. Joe met Sally. All right, so Joe's the subject. First he went to town, then he met Sally. We repeated the subject, okay? Because that's a good way to flow those sentences together, is just repeat the subject. Now, the second method is kind of like the first, but rather than repeat the subject, you're going to repeat the subject as a pronoun. So your first sentence was Joe went to town. Well, take Joe, the subject, and turn it into a pronoun and make a new sentence using a pronoun. Remember, a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So, Joe went to town, he met Sally. All right, that's another way of doing it. A third variant would be to repeat the subject but use a synonym instead of the original noun. Remember, a synonym is a word that means the same. So not all subjects can be done that way in that method, but generally you can figure out how to do it. So our first sentence is Joe and his brothers went to town. That's our first sentence. Okay, so we're going to take the subject, Joe and his brothers, that's the subject, and we're going to make a synonym. They used the boys. The boys means the same thing. So Joe and his brothers went to town. The boys met Sally is your second sentence. See how those sentences flow together. They just changed a little bit. All right, turn the page. Now thus far, we have kept our repetition to the subject, but things wouldn't get very far if you stayed on just that track. I'm sorry about my camera. The fourth method, not a variant of the others, is to repeat one of the other nouns from the previous sentence. So here we have Joe went to town. We're going to go back to that first sentence. Okay, so one of the other nouns is town. So rather than repeat Joe, the subject, we're going to repeat town. So going to town was a major event. Changes the whole thought process. Okay, but those sentences flow together. Obviously, in the above, town is repeated. I'm using very simple sentences, of course. You could always think of different ways of doing it. Let's look at Joe met Sally on his way to town after the ball game on Saturday. Okay, look at all those nouns in that sentence. Joe, Sally, way, town, game, Saturday. Any one of those could be repeated in the next sentence over. Of course, each noun would probably move the discourse in a new direction. In other words, depending on what noun you use in the next sentence or you repeat in the next sentence is going to depend on where your paragraph goes. So picking Sally instead of ball game as the new subject would shift the emphasis. So depending on what you're wanting to write about is going to determine the noun that you're going to use to go over to flow the next sentence. All right, so this is a variant on the previous method. We're on number 5. Instead of repeating the noun as a noun, use a pronoun. Joe went to town. It was the only place to get supplies. Now in that one, it wasn't the subject repeated. It was just another noun in the sentence using a pronoun. All right, the sixth method is to substitute a pronoun for a summary of some part of the other sentence. So Joe went to town. Our next sentence, it was an all-day affair. See, those sentences flow together. Here we see the second sentence is referring to the whole idea of Joe going to town. You will note that all substitutions or references in the second sentence thus far are in the subject position. This is the logical place for the repeated or referenced item to appear since it becomes the focus of attention for the new sentence. There are other possibilities, but this is just how they've shown you how to flow the sentences together. The seventh method requires the repetition of some other part of the sentence, usually the predicate, often with a noun. So, Joe went to town. We also went to town. Okay? Joe ran around the house. We ran around the garage. Okay? In the above, we've actions being repeated, either directly or in a little different manner, but you see how those sentences flow together. All right? Joe ran over to the slide. We walked over to the swings. Here, the action is being contrasted it's still a repetition of structure. You're still flowing those sentences together. You're just using different words that mean different things. Now, the 8th method is to use transitional words like first, next, then, yada, yada. That one usually is when you are explaining a process of some sort, so you can't always use that. First go outside, then look up in the sky. Of course, you would rightly point out, it says the above example has the same subject for both. Okay, first go outside. That's an imperative sentence. That's telling you to do something. It's giving you a command. So the subject of that sentence is you understood. There's not a subject visibly in that sentence, but it's understood to be you. As in the second one, it's understood to be you. It's an imperative sentence. So even though you understood is the same, so we've carried over the same subject, that's okay to do. But both of those sentences mean something different, but yet they flow. Okay, so that's the main thing I want to work on. That, for whatever reason, that seems to be the hardest thing for young writers to grasp. And once you can grasp flowing your sentences, your paragraph having continuity to it, then you can start working on those upper things like thesis and those types of things. Okay, so there's no assignment for today. I just wanted to go over that. Tomorrow there will not be a video. I'm just going to let you know what your assignment is, and it's going to be based on what we did today. So if you can't remember tomorrow, go back and watch this video again, and maybe it will help you remember, or you can message me too. All right, that's all for today.